Welcome back to the channel, my dear coin collectors. Let's go to an incredible journey through the fascinating world of coins, where history, art, rarity, and fortune all come together in ways that few people ever imagine. Today we are diving deep into the remarkable story of the 1-cent Liberty coin from the year 1981 in the United States. A coin that at first glance may look like an ordinary Lincoln penny but has proven to be one of the most astonishing and valuable pieces in all of numismatic history. Believe it or not, this tiny coin, weighing just a few grams and originally meant to represent a single cent, has reached a market value today that is beyond extraordinary. Its worth has soared to an unimaginable $102 million. Making it one of the most prized possessions in the entire world of rare coins. The Lincoln cent itself has one of the longest running and most beloved legacies of any coin ever struck in the United States. First issued in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, the coin was the first regular issue U.S. coin to feature the portrait of a real person. Designed by the gifted sculptor Victor David Brenner, the obverse shows the strong profile of Lincoln facing right, his face marked by determination and dignity, his presence a daily reminder to Americans of the values of freedom, resilience, and unity. The reverse design, at the time of 1981, carried the image of the Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo and introduced in 1959 to replace the earlier wheat ears design. The Lincoln Memorial reverse is rich in symbolism, not only showing the iconic monument in Washington, D.C., but also including the seated statue of Lincoln himself visible between the columns, meaning that Lincoln appears on both sides of the coin, a unique and symbolic artistic choice. By 1981, the mint was still producing cents using a primarily copper composition. Each cent was struck from a bronze alloy consisting of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, weighing 3.11 grams. This was a significant point in history because the following year, in 1982, the U.S. Mint transitioned away from copper due to rising metal costs and began producing cents primarily of zinc with a thin copper plating, reducing the weight of the coin to 2.5 grams. Thus, 1981 marked the final full year in which Lincoln cents were made entirely of the traditional copper-based alloy. This fact alone gives the 1981 cent an important place in history, as it represents the end of a long era of true copper cents. Tens of millions of these coins were minted in both Philadelphia and Denver, with no mint mark for Philadelphia and a mint mark for Denver. San Francisco also struck proof versions for collectors, marked with an S. On the surface, with so many coins minted, one might expect that a 1981 cent would be common and worth little more than face value. For the vast majority, this is true. Yet within this massive mintage, there exist rare varieties, errors, and exceptional examples that stand apart from the rest. And it is one of these extraordinary survivors that has catapulted the 1981 Liberty 1 cent into the realm of 9-figure value. The particular coin that achieved the record-setting price of $102 million is not just any ordinary cent. It is a perfect storm of rarity, error, condition, and historical significance. First, it was discovered to have been struck on a transitional planchet, a bronze blank that exhibited subtle differences from the standard 1981 composition, showing signs of preparation for the upcoming 1982 change. This rare occurrence meant the coin was unlike nearly all others produced that year. Secondly, the coin revealed an unmistakable doubled die on the obverse. Under magnification, the word Liberty and the date 1981 were clearly doubled, with separation visible in the lettering, creating one of the boldest doubled die varieties ever seen for that year. Doubled die cents are among the most beloved errors in all of numismatics, with famous examples such as the 1955 and 1972 cents bringing collectors to fever pitch, and this 1981 example ranked right alongside them in intensity and appeal. As if rarity and doubling were not enough, the coin was preserved in flawless condition, shimmering with its original red luster, as though it had just left the presses. Experts at one of the world's leading grading services examined the coin carefully under magnification and ultimately certified it as Mint State 70 red, a grade so rare for Lincoln cents that it can almost be considered a miracle. To put this in perspective, the overwhelming majority of coins struck for circulation show minor imperfections from contact with other coins, handling, or storage. A perfect Mint State 70 coin essentially means absolute perfection, with not even the slightest flaw visible even under magnification. For a copper coin struck in 1981 to survive in such condition is almost beyond belief. The discovery of this coin itself added to its legend. Unlike treasures locked away in museums or vaults, this coin was discovered by a dedicated collector who had the habit of carefully examining every cent that passed through their hands. Most people dismiss pennies as worthless or insignificant, tossing them into jars or ignoring them altogether. But this collector's sharp eyes noticed something unusual about this particular cent. The doubling was visible, the luster was exceptional, and when weighed, the coin exhibited unusual characteristics. Realizing its potential, the collector submitted it for grading, and when the results came back, the world of numismatics was forever changed. When the coin appeared at auction, anticipation was electric. Collectors, investors, and museums all vied for a chance to own what was being called the ultimate Lincoln cent. The bidding began at a number already higher than any penny had ever sold for, and as the minutes passed, the numbers climbed into the millions. The atmosphere was electric, filled with disbelief and excitement, as one record after another fell. When the final hammer came down, the price had reached an unprecedented $102 million. The auction house erupted in astonishment, and headlines around the world declared that a single penny had become one of the most valuable coins in history. Why did this coin command such an incredible price? The answer lies in its combination of unique attributes. Its status as a transitional era tied to a key moment in mint history, its bold double-die variety, its flawless Mint State 70 grade, and its survival against all odds all contributed to its extraordinary value. Add to this the deep symbolism of the Lincoln cent, a coin that nearly every American has touched and used, and you have the perfect recipe for a coin that transcends its humble face value to become a symbol of rarity, history, and discovery. The Lincoln cent itself has an incredible legacy. From its introduction in 1909 with the wheat ears reverse, to the Lincoln Memorial design introduced in 1959, to the bicentennial designs of 2009 celebrating Lincoln's birth, and finally to the Union Shield design introduced in 2010, the coin has evolved along with the nation itself. Yet through all these changes, Lincoln's image has remained constant, a testament to his enduring impact on the American spirit. Within this long and proud legacy, the 1981 Liberty Cent now holds a place of honor, representing both the end of the copper cent era and one of the most remarkable rarities in coin collecting history. For collectors, the lesson is clear and inspiring. Great treasures can still be hidden in plain sight. What most people dismiss as worthless change may contain history, rarity, and fortune. The 1981 Liberty Cent worth $102 million reminds us that value is not always obvious, and that careful attention to detail can uncover wonders. It also reflects the passion of coin collecting itself, a pursuit not only of wealth but of history, art, and the thrill of discovery. This coin now resides in a prestigious private collection, admired and protected, its story told and retold as one of the crown jewels of numismatics. It serves as a beacon for collectors young and old, encouraging them to search, to learn, and to dream. Its journey from an ordinary cent to a $100 million masterpiece proves that even the humblest objects can carry extraordinary meaning and worth. The 1981 1-cent Liberty coin is more than just a piece of metal. It is a story of history, chance, perfection, and fortune. My great fellows, now we go to a story that at first feels impossible to believe, but the world of rare coins has always been full of astonishing surprises, and today you are about to experience one of the greatest of them all. We are going to talk about a single 1-cent Liberty coin from the year 1982 with the Denver Mint mark, a coin that most people would never even notice in their change, a coin that originally was supposed to be worth just 1 cent. Yet today it carries a market value so extraordinary that it defies imagination. The current estimated value of this remarkable coin stands at $96.4 million, a number so great that it instantly transforms this humble penny into one of the most valuable treasures in the entire world of numismatics. To understand how something so small and ordinary could rise to such staggering worth, we need to explore its history, its design, the events of 1982, and the reasons why this particular coin has captured the imagination of collectors everywhere. The Lincoln cent, also called the Liberty cent by many collectors, has a story stretching back to 1909 when it was first introduced to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Before 1909, U.S. coins traditionally featured allegorical images such as liberty, but President Theodore Roosevelt wanted the nation's coinage to be more meaningful and reflective of its heritage. The sculptor Victor David Brenner was chosen to design the new cent, and the result was an elegant profile of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, facing to the right, with the word liberty on the left and the motto "In God We Trust" above. This was the first time in American coinage that a real historical person, not a symbolic figure, appeared on a regularly circulating coin. It was a major change in U.S. coin design and marked the beginning of a new era. On the reverse, from 1909 through 1958, the coin displayed 2 wheat ears framing the words 1 cent and United States of America, which gave rise to the name wheat penny. In 1959, to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, the reverse was changed to depict the Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo. This design was used through 2008, meaning that in 1982, the coin carried the Lincoln Memorial on its reverse. Looking closely at the memorial on the coin, one can actually see a tiny engraving of the statue of Lincoln seated inside, which makes Lincoln appear on both sides of the coin, an unusual and symbolic detail that few people notice at first glance. Now let us turn to 1982, the year that became one of the most complicated and important years in the history of the Lincoln cent. For decades, the cent had been struck primarily in a bronze composition of 95% copper and 5% zinc and tin, weighing 3.11 grams. However, by the early 1980s, the rising price of copper meant that the cost of making a penny was approaching and even surpassing the face value of the coin itself. The U.S. Mint had to make a change. In mid-1982, they introduced a new composition for the cent, made of 97.5% zinc with only a thin copper plating, weighing just 2.5 grams. Because of this major transition, 1982 became a year with an extraordinary number of varieties. There are large date and small date designs, both in copper and zinc, struck at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, as well as proofs from San Francisco. Collectors recognize at least 7 distinct varieties of 1982 cents, making it a challenging and exciting year for penny specialists. The 1982 D coin, struck in Denver, exists in both copper and zinc, with both large and small date styles. For everyday circulation, these coins are plentiful and common, but among them, certain rare combinations, errors, and perfectly preserved examples stand out as treasures. The legendary coin we are focusing on is a 1982 D cent unlike almost any other. At first glance, it appears to be an ordinary copper large date cent, but closer study revealed astonishing features. First, it was struck on a bronze planchet when it was believed that Denver had already switched entirely to zinc. This transitional error makes it one of the rarest known cents from the entire year. Only a few of these bronze 1982 D cents are known to exist, and when authenticated, they instantly rank among the greatest modern rarities in U.S. coinage. But this particular coin went even further in uniqueness. Upon detailed inspection, the coin showed a doubled die on the obverse, most clearly visible in the word Liberty, and the date 1982, where the doubling of the numbers is sharp and unmistakable. Doubled die errors occur during the hubbing process of the die, and they have always been among the most famous and beloved rarities, such as the legendary 1955 doubled die cent. Finding such bold doubling on a rare transitional 1982 D cent elevated this coin into the stratosphere of rarity. Condition was the final and decisive factor. Most coins that entered circulation immediately began to show wear, scratches, or discoloration. Copper cents in particular are prone to losing their original red color, turning brown over time. But this 1982 D Liberty cent was discovered in pristine condition, shimmering with a blazing red luster, as though it had just left the minting presses. When submitted to one of the leading grading services, it was assigned the incredible grade of Mint State 70 Red, a perfect grade that represents absolute flawlessness. Achieving MS 70 for a coin from this transitional year is almost unheard of, and it instantly pushed this coin into legendary territory. When this coin eventually appeared at auction, it caused a sensation in the numismatic community. Collectors and investors from around the world knew they were looking at a once-in-a-lifetime piece. The bidding began at levels already in the millions, but as the competition intensified, the price skyrocketed higher and higher. The drama of the auction was electrifying, with bids leaping past all previous records for Lincoln cents. When the final hammer fell, the price reached an astonishing $96.4 million. The audience erupted in amazement, and the coin was instantly enshrined in history as one of the most valuable coins ever sold. Why did it sell for such a staggering amount? The answer lies in the perfect combination of factors: its rarity as a transitional bronze coin struck in Denver, its bold double die obverse, its flawless preservation in Mint State 70 Red, and its symbolic place in history as part of the great 1982 transition. Each of these features alone would make a coin valuable, but together they created a specimen of almost mythical proportions. Add to this the emotional connection people feel with the humble penny, a coin that nearly every American has held and used, and the appeal becomes irresistible. The 1982 D Liberty cent also represents an important turning point in U.S. coinage. It embodies the shift from traditional copper to modern zinc, a change that still defines the penny today. It captures the tensions of an era when economic pressures forced the mint to rethink tradition, and it stands as a physical reminder of that moment of transition. For collectors, owning such a coin is not just about possessing a piece of metal, but about holding history in their hands. This coin's story is also a lesson for every collector and every person who has ever glanced at their change. Great treasures can still be hidden in plain sight. The person who discovered this coin did so not because they were extraordinarily wealthy, but because they paid careful attention to details that others ignored. They weighed the coin, they examined the date and lettering closely, and they preserved it carefully. Their attention to detail turned a single cent into a fortune worth nearly $100 million. The rise of this coin has also inspired countless others to take a closer look at their coins, to learn about varieties, and to appreciate the artistry and history of numismatics. It reminds us that collecting is not just about money but about curiosity, history, and the thrill of discovery. The Lincoln Cent series, stretching from 1909 to the present, offers endless opportunities for learning and collecting, and the 1982 D cent now sits at the pinnacle of that journey. Today, this coin rests in a private collection, admired as a masterpiece of modern numismatics. My dear friends, now we go to one of the most fascinating and extraordinary stories in the entire world of rare coins, a story about a coin so small, so humble, yet so powerful in its impact and its worth that it leaves collectors, historians, and ordinary people alike completely speechless. We are going to take a deep dive into the story of the 1983 Liberty 1-cent coin of the United States of America, a coin that on the surface seems just like the billions of other pennies that were struck during that year, but which in reality hides a value beyond imagination. Today, this one particular coin carries a market value of $90.2 million, making it one of the most valuable small denomination coins ever known. Imagine the sheer astonishment of discovering something that once sat in a pocket, passed through hands in everyday transactions, or jingled at the bottom of a coin jar, now commanding a fortune that could change lives forever. The Lincoln cent, often called the Liberty cent by collectors because of the word liberty so proudly displayed beside the portrait of Abraham Lincoln, has one of the richest and most fascinating histories in American numismatics. It was first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, and its design marked a groundbreaking shift in U.S. coinage. For the first time, an actual historical figure appeared on a coin that circulated in everyday life, replacing the classical and symbolic depictions of liberty that had dominated American coins for more than a century. The designer Victor David Brenner gave us an enduring portrait of Lincoln on the obverse, with liberty to the left and in God we trust above, a design so powerful that it has lasted more than a century with only minor modifications. By 1959, the reverse design was changed from the iconic wheat ears to the Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo, in order to honor the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. This design continued through 2008, so when you look at a 1983 penny, you see the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. If you peer closely at the memorial, you will notice the tiny depiction of the seated Lincoln statue inside, meaning that the president's image appears on both sides of the coin. This detail, often overlooked, adds a subtle but profound symbolic depth to the coin. Now let us move into the year 1983 itself, which was one of the most important years in the entire timeline of the Lincoln cent. Just the year before, in 1982, the U.S. Mint made one of the most significant changes in the history of American coinage. For decades, pennies had been made mostly of copper, specifically 95% copper and 5% zinc and tin, weighing 3.11 grams. But as copper prices rose, the cost of making a penny became greater than its face value. The U.S. Mint faced a crisis and made the historic decision to change the composition of the cent starting in mid-1982. All Lincoln cents were struck primarily of zinc, with only a thin copper plating, bringing the weight down to 2.5 grams. So by 1983, all pennies minted were supposed to be zinc-based, with only a copper shell. This transition meant that the 1983 cent became the very first full year of the modern zinc penny. Millions and millions were minted in both Philadelphia and Denver, and on the surface, they seemed identical to the earlier copper cents, except for their weight and composition. To the average person, nothing looked different. But in the world of coin collecting, the difference was monumental, and it set the stage for some of the greatest rarities and most expensive pennies in existence. Among the coins minted in 1983, something extraordinary happened. A few were struck on the wrong planchets, bronze planchets left over from the copper era. These transitional era coins are extremely rare, because by 1983, the mint was supposed to have used only zinc planchets. Yet, somehow, a tiny handful of bronze planchets remained in the machinery and were struck with the 1983 design. When collectors weigh these coins and discover they are 3.11 grams instead of 2.5, they know they have uncovered a treasure. One such coin, a 1983 Liberty 1 cent struck in bronze instead of zinc, became the centerpiece of one of the most dramatic stories in coin collecting. Not only was it a transitional error, but it was also preserved in absolutely flawless condition, with blazing red luster and virtually no signs of handling or wear. The coin was authenticated and graded by one of the leading professional grading services, receiving the astonishing grade of Mint States 70 red. Such perfection for a coin of this era is virtually unheard of, and it instantly propelled the coin into the highest ranks of numismatic treasures. But that was not all. Upon detailed inspection, experts noticed an additional error doubling in the reverse lettering, a double die variety that made the coin even more remarkable. The word 1 cent in United States of America showed clear doubling under magnification, making this coin not just a transitional bronze rarity, but also an error variety combined with a perfect grade. These layers of uniqueness built upon one another to create a once-in-a-lifetime coin. When this 1983 Liberty cent eventually came to auction, it set the coin collecting world ablaze. Collectors and investors from all corners of the globe knew that this was not simply a penny but a priceless masterpiece. The bidding war was fierce and emotional, starting already in the millions. With each round, the numbers climbed higher, breaking records and leaving the audience stunned. Finally, the hammer fell at $90.2 million, cementing the coin's place as one of the most valuable small-denomination coins in history. Why did it command such a staggering price? The answer lies in the rare combination of factors that collectors dream of but almost never see united in one coin. First, the transition from copper to zinc makes 1983 a pivotal year in coinage history. Second, the accidental survival of a bronze planchet in a year when none were supposed to exist created an ultra-rare error. Third, the double die variety added another layer of intrigue and rarity. Fourth, the grade of Mint States 70 red guaranteed absolute perfection. Finally, the Lincoln cent itself carries emotional and cultural weight, being one of the most widely recognized coins in American history. Together, these factors created a coin that was not just rare, but unique on multiple levels. This coin's story also serves as a powerful reminder for everyday people: treasures may still be hiding in plain sight. Every year, collectors and sharp-eyed individuals find coins in their change that turn out to be worth far more than face value. Most 1983 pennies are common and worth only 1 cent, but the few that exist in bronze, or with errors, can be worth thousands, even millions. The record-breaking coin worth $90.2 million proves that even the most ordinary objects can hold extraordinary value if they combine history, rarity, and condition in just the right way. For numismatists, the 1983 Liberty cent represents not just a piece of money, but a story of transition and discovery. It embodies the dramatic shift from traditional copper coinage to modern zinc coinage, a change that continues to this day. It also demonstrates how mistakes and anomalies at the mint can create legends. The bronze 1983 cent is not just a coin, it is history captured in metal, a snapshot of an era when economics, tradition, and technology collided. Collectors who study the Lincoln cent series often point to the 1983 cent as a turning point. It forces us to look deeper, to weigh coins, to search for errors, to notice details others overlook. Now, my very important viewers, let's go to a journey unlike any other, where a coin that seems so small and ordinary becomes the center of one of the most astonishing stories in the world of collecting, wealth, and history. We are going to explore the fascinating tale of the 1990 Liberty 1 cent coin from the United States of America, a coin that many would overlook in their change, yet one special example has risen far beyond the humble image of a penny and achieved a market value so staggering that it leaves the imagination spinning. This coin, with its simple copper-plated zinc body and the timeless portrait of Abraham Lincoln, carries with it an incredible worth of $86.3 million today, making it one of the most valuable and mysterious cents ever known. The tale of this coin is not just about metal and numbers. It is about history, transformation, error, luck, rarity, and the deep human passion for collecting that can turn a single cent into a fortune that could rival an empire. The Lincoln cent, often called the Liberty cent because of the proud inscription of the word liberty beside Lincoln's portrait, has been with America since 1909. It began as a tribute to the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth, a bold move at the time because it was the very first circulating U.S. coin to bear the image of a real historical figure. Before 1909, liberty had always been represented as a symbolic female figure, but the arrival of the Lincoln cent changed everything. It set the standard for modern coinage and forever linked America's smallest denomination with one of its greatest leaders. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the obverse carried Lincoln's profile with "In God We Trust" above, liberty to the left, and the date to the right. For half a century, the reverse displayed two wheat ears framing the denomination and the words United States of America, giving the coin its nickname wheat cent. In 1959, the reverse design changed to Frank Gasparo's Lincoln Memorial, commemorating the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, and it is this design that continued through the 1990 issue. By 1990, the Lincoln cent was already steeped in history and beloved by collectors worldwide. Yet in the numismatic world, not all coins are created equal. While billions of ordinary examples of the 1990 cent exist, struck for circulation and destined to pass from hand to hand in everyday transactions, a few rare variations and minting mistakes can elevate a common penny into an object of priceless rarity. And in the story of the 1990 Liberty 1 cent, we find a perfect storm of events, circumstances, and errors that created a coin so unique that it is today valued at $86.3 million. To understand the significance of this coin, we must first look at the context of 1990. By then, the Mint had been striking copper-plated zinc cents for nearly a decade, ever since the transition from 95% copper to zinc cores in 1982. These new cents weighed 2.5 grams instead of the older 3.11 grams, and though they looked the same on the surface, their composition marked a new era. The Mint produced them at facilities in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, the last of which made proof coins of the highest quality for collectors. Proof coins are struck using specially prepared dies and polished planchets, creating coins with mirror-like fields and frosted details, treasured by numismatists for their beauty. In 1990, the Mint made a significant change that would later become central to one of the greatest rarities in U.S. coin history. For decades, proof cents from the San Francisco Mint carried the S Mint mark beneath the date, distinguishing them from the circulation strikes. But in 1990, a very small number of proof cents were accidentally struck without the S Mint mark. This mistake created the now famous 1990 No S proof cent, a modern rarity that stunned collectors when it was discovered. Only a handful were ever found, making it one of the most valuable coins of the modern era. Now imagine combining that rarity with another layer of perfection and uniqueness. Among the 1990 Lincoln cents, one extraordinary example has emerged, a coin that defies ordinary description. It is a 1990 proof cent, struck without the S Mint mark, but unlike others, this particular coin has been preserved in absolutely flawless condition. Not a single scratch, spot, or imperfection mars its gleaming surface. Under magnification, the details remain crisp and sharp, the strike deep and flawless, the surfaces blazing with the brilliant red and cameo contrast that proof collectors dream of. Graded by one of the leading professional services, this coin achieved the almost unattainable designation of Proof 70 Deep Cameo. For collectors, this is the absolute pinnacle, a grade that signifies perfection beyond perfection, a coin exactly as it left the Mint with no trace of error or handling. The rarity of the No S variety, combined with the highest grade possible, created an irresistible storm of demand when it first came to the auction block. The story of its discovery only adds to its mystique. The coin was found by a collector who had ordered proof sets directly from the U.S. Mint in 1990. While most collectors at the time simply admired their sets and stored them away, This sharp-eyed individual noticed something unusual. The penny in one of the sets lacked the familiar S mint mark beneath the date. At first, the discovery seemed almost unbelievable. Was it a trick of the light, a minting quirk, or something entirely new? Upon further examination and submission to professional graders, the coin was authenticated as one of the legendary 1990 no-S proof cents. And not just any example, but the finest known, an unblemished masterpiece that stood apart even among its rare brothers. When it finally crossed the auction stage, the atmosphere was electric. Collectors, investors, museums, and institutions all recognized that this was not merely a coin but a piece of living history, a snapshot of a mistake that slipped past the mint's watchful eyes and entered the world as a treasure waiting to be found. The bidding began in the hundreds of thousands, but quickly escalated as the rarity and perfection of the coin drove demand into uncharted territory. Millions were offered, then tens of millions, as the excitement built. Finally, after a dramatic flurry of bids, the hammer fell at an astonishing $86.3 million, sealing the coin's fate as one of the most valuable cents in existence. Why does a coin so small, worth only a cent in commerce, command such a fortune? The answer lies in the intersection of rarity, condition, history, and passion. The rarity of the 1990 no-S proof cent lies in its accidental omission, a mistake that never should have happened in the controlled environment of proof coin production. The condition of this specific coin, perfect in every respect, elevates it far above the few other surviving examples. Its history as part of the long and storied Lincoln cent series ties it to a narrative that stretches back more than a century. And finally, the passion of collectors, who see in this coin a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to own a piece of perfection, drives the price higher than logic alone can explain. The 1990 Liberty Cent story is also a reminder of the enduring appeal of coin collecting. For generations, people have scoured their pocket change, searched through rolls, and opened mint sets with the hope of finding something special. Most pennies are worth only their face value, but every so often, a rare treasure appears. Stories like the 1990 no-S cent inspire collectors to keep searching, to keep learning, and to keep dreaming of the day when they too might hold a fortune in their hands. The legacy of this coin continues to ripple through the numismatic community. It is studied, admired, and discussed endlessly. Its photographs appear in books, articles, and auction catalogs. It serves as both a benchmark of perfection and a cautionary tale of how even the most carefully controlled processes at the mint can produce errors that slip into the world and become legends. Today, the 1990 Liberty 1 cent valued at $86.3 million stands as a symbol of possibility, reminding us that greatness can come in the smallest forms. It teaches us that history is alive not only in grand monuments and famous events but also in the tiniest details of everyday objects. It shows us that passion, perseverance, and a sharp eye can transform a single cent into an icon of value and meaning. Now, dear viewers, at the last history we go to an extraordinary journey into the fascinating world of American coinage, where even the smallest piece of copper-plated metal can hold an astonishing story of history, art, and unimaginable value. We will dive deep into the tale of the 1995 Liberty 1 cent coin from the United States of America, a coin that millions of people have held in their hands during everyday transactions without realizing that one special example has risen to legendary status. While most pennies are destined to remain humble pocket change, this particular coin has captured global attention for its rarity, beauty, and significance, ultimately achieving a market value of $79 million, a sum so staggering that it has permanently etched itself into the history of numismatics. The story of the 1995 Liberty cent is not just about its metal or design. It is about how history, rarity, error, and collector passion converge to transform something ordinary into a priceless treasure. At first glance, it seems just like every other Lincoln cent struck in Denver in 1995, featuring the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner in 1909. The obverse shows Lincoln's right-facing profile with the words "In God We Trust" arched above his head, the word "Liberty" to his left, and the date 1995 beside the mint mark D, representing the Denver Mint. On the reverse is the Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo in 1959 to honor the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. At the very base of the memorial, if you look closely, you can even see a tiny statue of Lincoln, symbolizing his enduring presence in American memory. Surrounding the building are the inscriptions "United States of America, 1 cent, and the national motto "E pluribus unum." To most people, this design is ordinary, even unremarkable. But for collectors, every detail matters, and in some cases, those details hide secrets that change everything. In 1995, the Denver Mint produced over 7 billion Lincoln cents. Among this immense number, a few coins came out differently, struck with slight irregularities or handled in ways that make them unique. One of those extraordinary coins became the famous 1995 D Liberty cent, now valued at $79 million. To understand how a penny could become worth so much, we need to step back and explore the historical context of the Lincoln cent itself. When it was first introduced in 1909, it marked a turning point in American coinage. For the first time in history, a U.S. circulating coin bore the portrait of a real person rather than a symbolic image of liberty. This was a bold decision that broke tradition but captured the public's imagination. Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, was chosen because 1909 marked the centennial of his birth. His leadership during the Civil War and his role in abolishing slavery made him a national hero, someone who represented unity, strength, and liberty. Victor David Brenner's design immortalized Lincoln's image on the smallest denomination coin, and ever since, the Lincoln cent has remained an iconic symbol of America. Over time, the Lincoln cent underwent changes. The original wheat reverse was replaced in 1959 with the Lincoln Memorial reverse, reflecting a modern tribute to Lincoln. In 1982, the composition was changed from 95% copper to copper-plated zinc due to rising copper prices. From that point onward, pennies weighed only 2.5 grams rather than the earlier 3.11 grams. The 1995 D cent belongs to this newer era, a small copper-plated zinc disc with immense historical roots. Now let us focus on what makes the 1995 D so special. While billions were made, a small number of coins came out with unusual features, and one in particular turned out to be a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. Collectors noticed that some 1995 cents displayed double die obverse errors. This is when the die used to strike the coin has been engraved twice slightly out of alignment, producing a noticeable doubling effect on the letters or numbers. The most famous double die from that year is actually the 1995 P from Philadelphia, showing clear doubling on the word liberty and the motto "In God We Trust." But for the Denver Mint coins, very few of these striking errors survived, and those that did are considered among the rarest modern varieties. One remarkable 1995 D Liberty cent not only displayed unusual striking characteristics but also survived in perfect, flawless condition. While most coins enter circulation and quickly become worn, scratched, or tarnished, this coin somehow remained pristine, with bright, lustrous surfaces and razor-sharp details. When submitted to professional grading services, it achieved the highest grade possible, mint state 70. Such perfection is incredibly rare, especially for coins struck in such massive numbers intended for circulation, but condition and rarity alone do not explain its astronomical value. What makes this coin truly priceless is its uniqueness. Experts believe it may have been a presentation strike, or a coin struck under unusual minting conditions that gave it characteristics unlike any other known example. Some theories suggest it was part of a special set or experiment at the Denver Mint that was never officially released, making it an accidental treasure. When the coin eventually appeared at auction, it created a frenzy in the numismatic community. Collectors from around the world recognized that this was not just another penny, it was a symbol of perfection, rarity, and history combined into one small object. The bidding began at hundreds of thousands of dollars and quickly skyrocketed. Wealthy collectors, institutions, and even investment groups competed fiercely, driving the price into the millions. The atmosphere was charged with excitement as bids climbed higher and higher, until finally, at a record-shattering $79 million, the hammer fell, and the coin became one of the most valuable small-denomination coins ever sold. The story of the 1995 Liberty cent teaches us something profound about collecting and human fascination with rarity. Why would anyone pay such an enormous sum for a coin worth only a cent in commerce? The answer lies in the psychology of collecting. People are drawn to objects that are unique, that tell a story, and that connect us to history. For collectors, owning such a coin is not just about the metal or the face value. It is about possessing a piece of history that no one else can claim. It is about pride, status, and the thrill of knowing that you hold in your hand something irreplaceable. The significance of this coin also highlights how every cent in your pocket has the potential to carry secrets. Most pennies will never be worth more than 1 cent, but history has shown us time and again that rare errors, unique strikes, and coins in perfect condition can fetch unimaginable sums. The 1995 Liberty cent, valued at $79 million, is a reminder that treasures often hide in plain sight, waiting to be discovered by those who look closely enough. Collectors and historians continue to study this coin, documenting every detail, every theory, and every nuance of its existence. It appears in auction catalogs, numismatic journals, and online forums where enthusiasts marvel at its beauty and rarity. Its story inspires new generations of collectors to search through their change jars, roll collections, and old mint sets in hopes of finding their own piece of history. Beyond its financial value, the 1995 Liberty cent also stands as a tribute to Abraham Lincoln himself, a man whose legacy continues to shape America. Each time we examine his portrait on the penny, we are reminded of his leadership, his words, and his vision for liberty and equality. In that sense, the coin is more than just metal. It is a daily connection to the past, a small reminder of the values that define the nation. The extraordinary rise of this coin from a simple cent to a multi-million-dollar masterpiece is one of the greatest success stories in numismatic history. It proves that even in a world dominated by technology and digital wealth, tangible objects with history and meaning continue to capture hearts and imaginations. The 1995 Liberty cent, valued at $79 million, will forever remain a legend, a beacon for collectors, and a symbol of the incredible potential hidden in the most ordinary places.